Bill Cosby was found guilty of a plethora of sex crimes, and one of the jurors in the case just decided to speak out. Let's watch a little clip of that.
We're going to move on now to our exclusive interview with one of the jurors who convicted Bill Cosby. 22-year-old Harrison Snyder sat down with Lindsay Davis, and Lindsay, he is convinced he made the right decision.
That's right. No second guessing. Good morning to you, George. Harrison Snyder was the youngest of all the deliberating jurors, and at 22 years old, he wasn't even alive during the height of Cosby's fame. He also admits he wasn't very aware of the Me Too movement. And while many have said that this case came down to he said, she said, Snyder says for him, it came down to what Cosby said himself.
This morning, a stunning revelation that it may have been Bill Cosby's own words that sealed his fate.
What was the evidence that made you sure, beyond a reasonable doubt, that he was guilty?
I think it was his deposition, really. Ms. Cosby admitted to giving these quaaludes to women, young women, in order to have sex with them.
For weeks, there was speculation about the outcome. But this morning, we hear just what was going on inside the deliberation room during Bill Cosby's retrial, thanks to juror number 1, Harrison Snyder.
But when you entered the room for the first time, were you sure that he was guilty?
No.
So what then made the difference for you once you started deliberating?
Hearing everyone's comments about certain pieces of evidence and going through the different counts.
So you don't feel, even now, that it was an open and shut case?
No.
The 22-year-old says prior to the trial, he didn't know much about Cosby and knew nothing about the allegations against him.
I really didn't know a lot. I knew he was an actor. I knew that he did The Cosby Show. I never watched The Cosby Show or anything. I'm a little too young for that.
What did you know about the allegations prior to becoming a juror in the case?
I didn't know anything. I don't watch the news ever. So I didn't even know what he was on trial for.
At Cosby's first trial last spring, the jury deliberated for more than 52 hours, but was unable to come to a unanimous decision on whether or not Cosby drugged and sexually assaulted former Temple University employee Andrea Constant at his Pennsylvania home in 2004.
When Andrea was on the stand, did you believe her?
Yes.
What about those other 5 women who testified?
Yeah.
If you hadn't heard from the other 5 and you just had her word, would that have mattered to you?
I don't think so, because in the deposition he stated that he gave these drugs to other women. I don't think it really necessarily mattered that these other 5 women were here, because he said it himself that he used these drugs for other women.
So you found it to be his words that were the most damning of all?
Yeah.
There's something I really like about that guy, because he feels like he's in his own little world. He's in his own little bubble. He said he doesn't watch the news at all. And he was just like, yeah, the dude said he drug women and then fucked them. And that's pretty much all I needed to know. Because that's true. Yeah, that would be a crime. You can't drug somebody and then they're fucking unconscious and then you fuck their lifeless body. Open and shut case, dude. That's I'm reminded of when I was a juror. This is an unnecessary pivot into a side conversation, but I'm going to do it anyway. When I was a juror, it was a criminal case, and they were charging this kid with assault because he had stabbed these 2 brothers. And the brothers showed up to that kid's house to fuck him up. 2 people were going to fuck up this one guy, and he pulled out a knife and he ended up stabbing them. And it wasn't even like he was stabbing to kill. It was they got stitches and stuff in a bunch of different places. But how do you have the nerve to show up to somebody's house to fuck them up? And then when they pull out something and defend themselves, you're like, I'm suing you for stabbing me. Well, maybe you shouldn't have showed up to fight the fucking kid. How about that? So the whole I feel like everything else in the trial was just background noise and was the fucking Charlie Brown, bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. Bitch, I got the facts. You went to fuck him up, and then he responded and protected himself. So why are we even here? So that was a case where it was a duh in not guilty. What he's talking about is the case with Cosby where it was a duh guilty. Because if he admits, yeah, I zip zop zooper da bop jello pudding pops. I drug him and I fuck him. Oh no, stop. Okay, where's the gavel? We're done. Pound it. Over. And then there were the other women who testified and were yeah, basically similar thing happened to me. And he was listen, okay, fine. You showed me what all the other women were saying. His words alone was enough for me to, like, how do you defend that once you admit, like, yeah, I drug people, and then when they're lifeless, I fuck them. So then what's your defense? Imagine admitting that and then being like, which is why it's totally okay because of reasons X, Y, and Z. What? I can't believe he's not even, I don't think it's rape that he was found guilty of. I could be wrong. You guys fact check me on that. It was other sex crimes. But I'm surprised it wasn't even rape, because if he admits, I drug him and then fucked their lifeless body. Isn't that exactly what rape is? Because then the women wake up and they're like, oh shit, I was just violated. I didn't say yes. So, and by the way, there's been a bunch of articles now. They've gone back and looked at all of Cosby's old shit. And there's so many hints he dropped over the years, talking about Spanish fly or something like that, some pill where they'd put it in drinks, and he would talk about it like it's totally normal. And listen, to be fair, I'm sure back in the fucking 70s and shit, yeah, people were drugging people and fucking people like nobody's business, but that doesn't mean it's right. That doesn't mean it's right. So, guilty. This is a rare instance of somebody being found guilty who's rich and powerful. You know, that very, very rarely happens. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Harvey Weinstein and with some of these other cases, but I think justice was served here. Now, we don't know what the sentence is yet. There's actually talk about how he might not even get jail time, which would be amazing if he didn't get jail time. But anyway, we'll see. Bill Cosby, guilty.